Hello, adventurers. My name's Tyler.
And I'm Richard.
On today's episode, we're taking a look back at the 2023 for D&D Beyond and their year of adventure. Welcome to True Strike.
Howdy, folks, and welcome back to the show. You heard right. Today we're talking about Dungeons & Dragons 2023 kind of wrap-up.
Yeah, D&D Beyond specifically.
Yeah, D&D Beyond did a really cool article. So the staff put together what they called the 2023 Unrolled, a look back at a year of adventure. And it just covered some stats, basically, of Dungeons & Dragons Beyond. To kind of tell us what all of us players have been doing for the entire year.
That's right. And this should be more of a positive episode. We've had a couple downers the last one, but they put out some interesting feedback and stats and charts, things like that. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of go through it, and
it was fun. I love these things. Kind of reminds me of the Spotify wrap up.
Yes, yeah, but for
a little less personalized. Which maybe they should.
Oh,
wouldn't that be cool if it was like, this was your most used weapon in 2023 across all your characters, like crossbow, right? Or like your most used spells,
most played character.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Now I'm just thinking they should have like ways to track concentration, so you can be all like, I concentrated for
this many
50 hours in 2023 on Moonbeam.
Yeah. This many natural 20s, this many natural ones. It could totally keep track of your dice rolls.
Yeah.
We know that for sure.
This is a good idea. I think I like this a lot. Yeah. Your most used die, that would be really, really cool.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. They can even put the messages in there. They can have a bunch of people record messages. Like, here's your message from Chris Perkins.
Oh my gosh. You specifically. you going for Chris Perkins. Yeah. J. Crawford, you.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. We need a D&D Beyond wrapped on a personal level. But yeah, it's kind of like that, but for all of us.
Yeah, less personal.
Yeah, less personal, but still kind of cool because like I always look forward to the Spotify Wrapped just because it's funny and it's neat to see what you did for the year. So it was kind of cool to see this. It was unexpected, obviously.
Yeah.
And I would love to have even more detail. It is a shorter article. I would have loved like so much more detail. Like they could have just kept going. Like give me more bullet points. Tell me more.
Yeah. Oh gosh, the amount of surveys they had this year for all the 2024 players handbook and stuff, core set revision and everything.
Oh yeah, they should have had one in here. How many pages of surveys did you read
right
in 2023?
God, all of them. But you know what? They're doing a little bit for their first one. They're talking about their maps, right? Which is in alpha right now for D&D Beyond, bringing in the digital maps into their software, and there's select books in there right now. That you go through, and whether you guys are, I think it's primarily for when you're playing on Discord or across the globe, stuff like that. You can all access the same thing. The DM can add their fog of war and everything. You move your tokens around and the enemies and stuff. They're just trying to promote that a little bit, because am I wrong? You can only access that if you're a D&D Beyond member, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? Self-promotion out the gate. They've said that in maps alone, there were 180 million characters or NPCs were played. So tokens of the good guys, air quotes, and 88 million monsters were fought or befriended. So 88 million enemy tokens placed on the maps, I assume, is the way they're working at this.
Yeah.
And hey, cool. People are using it.
More than double the amount of monsters are your NPCs. Your PCs.
Which makes sense, if you've got a party of 4 and then you've one big bad on the map, you've got 4 times right there. So the odds seem to be stacked in the player's favor, at least for most of these situations.
Yeah.
As far as a numbers game would go. But I don't know if they mentioned too much for this, other than they mentioned while it started with a relatively small library, maps has now been fully integrated in the content of 17 books, which is pretty cool. Especially because this is the little ripples we're getting for what will become their VTT. And, we're moving into 2024. They're going to keep pushing maps more and more and adding features as we go down the road, which I've said before, the feature I could use the most is a better local play version.
Yeah, true.
Because we have a digital map, a TV on the table, and we use that for, hey, I've got my side, and I want to be able to set up a second screen, so to speak, where I broadcast to that, and that way on my side, if I do any edits, you don't see that. As it is currently, that doesn't work. You guys see everything I see. So it's really funky if you try to make that work locally. And if it did, I would use it a lot more than I do now. Hopefully we get there soon.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to get there. It's just that you can tell when you use it that it's still in its growing stages.
Right. And if they had to focus on one or the other, I don't blame them at all for focusing on remote play, because that's ideally, the main reason you would use this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just weird and want to use it in person.
More tools is always a good thing.
Yeah, I love it. Speaking of good things, D&D Beyond, through sales of content like Misplaced Monsters, Volume 1, Domains of Delight, a Feywild accessory. There's some extra life stuff. They were able to raise over 37,000 players. That's way bigger than I was thinking.
I was going to say, it's a much larger number when you think about it.
37,000 players purchased some of this content. Okay.
Yeah.
And some of this range from what? $3 to $5?
Yeah, $3 to $5, or depending on how much content you actually purchase as well.
True.
So yeah, no, it's a sizable number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna lowball this really quick. Pull up the calculator. So let's say 37,000 just times 3. We're looking at $111,000.
Yeah.
Charities. Wow.
On the low end, yeah.
On the low end, that's amazing. Good job, everybody.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
No, that's pretty cool.
Especially, I really like the what was it? The extra life with the characters and the monsters that the children made up.
Oh,
that
yeah,
were like
that was so
crazy
cool.
Drawings and stuff, and they turned into actual stat blocked monsters. Those were awesome. The cat that had like the glitter attack and stuff.
No, that's really cool. Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about Gale?
Who doesn't want to talk about Gale? Actually, so Gale has not been like a staple in my Baldur's Gate playthroughs. I guess I'm weird. And in the game that we play with together, so we're playing a Baldur's Gate campaign, I avoid Gale like the plague. And every time you're talking to him, I'm like, please stop talking to him.
Why do you hate Gale so much?
I don't know. I never really liked Gale.
So fun fact, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but we plan on playing this whenever they had cross platform play. I plan on playing Gale.
Oh no!
I don't know if you guys are gonna do origin characters or
I have to avoid you,
or custom characters or what, but I'm going to actually dive into Gale on that playthrough if you'd allow it.
Fair. Okay.
I don't know if you wanted to be a wizard, so
I want to go into spoilers so bad right now, just from like my Dark Urge playthrough. Which, if you did, you know, it was some satisfying stuff that happens in there. But yeah, no, Gale is right there on the main front page for claimable. So Gale was the most popular Baldur's Gate 3 character.
Oh yeah, because when the game came out, they made all of the origin characters playable. When you went into D&D Beyond, there are some pre-mades. You can obviously go on D&D Beyond, you can make your own character creation's D&D. There's also pre-made for anyone new to it, or just, hey, I need a character right now. Cool, here's some pre-made characters. And then they added a separate thing for, here are characters you'll know and love from Baldur's Gate 3 if you just want to play as characters you're familiar with, or even spin off the video game into your own adventures at home. You could play these characters officially supported and made. That was one of them.
Is it because of his class, or is it because it's Gale?
I think, and we'll get to this a little bit, part of it's that he's a human.
Mm-hmm.
And, easy to like recognize and get to and everything else. Two, I think a lot of people do like Gale.
Okay, fair enough.
And wizard.
Yeah,
it checks a lot of boxes.
I don't know why. Just something about Gale. He just wasn't doing it for me. He's not my favorite character.
I'm surprised it's not Shadowheart.
Shadowheart? Okay, I was gonna say Karlach.
I figured you would.
I was gonna say Karlach.
But Tiefling is not the most played species.
True. Okay. But yeah, no, Gale made the top of the list for the most popular, basically pre-made D&D Beyond character for Baldur's Gate.
which, like we said, those are all free. If you just have D&D Beyond account, you can access those. Now, speaking of free and having D&D Beyond account and accessing, I don't know why, other than, hey, BG3 is popular, let's push that as like the face of this section of the article. In other news, the most popular claimable of 2023. So just straight up, what should be the headline of this free claimable section, the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves collection, which includes 7 stat blocks from the movie's main characters, 5 legendary magic items from the movie, and a dice set featuring everybody's favorite Chonky Boy Dragon. Totally free, the biggest, most claimed thing of the year. And it was not the headline. It was buried down like a paragraph or so in
they
text.
could put Gale's face on there.
Gale could be what you see.
I think it's probably because I think that Gale is a singular thing that's a collectible, right? Versus an entire pack. Because when it comes down to like individual characters, people are going to go download individual characters. Probably not going to download them all. They're probably not going to play them all. Versus if you present like a package deal that includes dice and everything like that, right? That is a more likely to be downloaded just for somebody that's like, oh, I'm going to put this in my account.
Sure.
Like I'm going to go ahead and download this and claim this collectible versus like, I want to play Gale.
I just wish it got a little more notoriety, a little more, you know, like it was the claimable of the year. And they're just like, that was early on in the year.
That was early in the year.
You know,
and it's the Dungeons & Dragons movie.
That's so old.
Comparatively not as popular as Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, would you want to play Snails?
Nothing is as popular as Baldur's Gate 3.
I mean, right now it's pretty hot. That and Power World.
I tell you, Snails was like, if they put Snails
as
a claimable character.
He was the guy.
I'm playing him. We're getting him. That's claimable. I'm taking it. Or Damodar. I'd have him as a villain in a campaign. That would be really cool. Oh,
yeah. But no, we get Gale.
Because Damodar lived in the first movie. I just want to, we'll call that back. He's still alive and he's in the sequel.
I was going to say something along the lines of nobody listening to this cares. However, the only people that might care are the people listening to this.
Yeah, so you're out there. It's not me. I'm not alone.
Right. Some facts about some of the, characters and just general character creation. Did you know, Richard, that the average age of characters created on D&D Beyond is 28 years old?
Which is really close to the number that a lot of my characters have been, with the exception of like the super old one.
Which, and I was thinking about this until I read further onto the article, and it confirmed what I was thinking. That's strange, considering that what is it? Dwarves? Dwarves reach adulthood at 50, and elves at 100. So you have a 28-year-old
infants running around.
You have a 28-year-old elf running around. They're just a child.
That's why the dwarves are always so angry, because they all just need nappies. That's it. That's why they're all just so they're still so young.
They're
little babies.
They're not ready. They're not ready to go out in the world. Some Ash Ketchum stuff right here.
So do you think this is because no hate to new players, right? That are coming in, because that's great, get new people into the hobby, into the whole thing. But do you think it's because a fundamental just lack of knowledge as far as lore is considered? So like if we were to bring like one of our friends from work in onto the set, never played Dungeons and Dragons, and we're like, you're gonna play a dwarf, like how old do you want to be? And they say they're 28. That's because they're not gonna know that dwarves age differently.
100%.
Because they're not in it, right? So is this because a lot of people just fundamentally don't do the research into the lore, because they're just like, I want to play this with my friends and we're getting in and I'm just going to be 28?
Bingo. That's an extra step. I mean, if D&D Beyond had a slider that changed, depending on what species you chose, people would probably adjust that accordingly. But not everybody is out here like us looking up average height and weight and age and all the different like spans of statistics.
There's not a lot of that.
Species.
Like, because I have done this before.
Oh, 100%.
Like I looked up the species and I'm like,
played.
What is the average height and weight for this species? And I have to Google it and then go down this Reddit rabbit hole trying to find somebody who can definitively tell me what the average height and weight is. Because in like the older books and stuff like that, they don't tell you. They just tell you to roll dice. And it's all like, okay, well, I'd like to have more of a baseline here for some of these species. So yeah, I've gone down that road.
This is why Rudy and Karis were both 1 inch away from like maximum height, because I didn't want to be that guy to put the max height for a character.
Oh, I'm as tall as I can.
I am 1 inch away. Because, I don't want to be
Wait, so you just put
guy.
1 inch away from max height?
Yes, every time.
Every time.
I was like, what is the maximum height a Dragonborn could be?
Whatever that maximum height is,
Bring down
knock
one.
it down an inch.
Yeah.
And we're good.
Yeah, 100%. I'll be a little shorter than some of the Dragonborn out there.
I'm not the tallest Dragonborn.
Not all of them.
Which is weird because I actually err on the short side of every character that I play. And even like one of my most favorite characters, he was actually a little bit taller, but I always described him as being shorter because he's old and he walks with a hunch.
So good.
So on his actual character sheet, it tells you what height he is and then what his average walking and or standing height is, which is much lower because of his basically scoliosis.
So good. Also, the average current level as of posting this article of characters is 4.77.
4.77.
Do you think that is brought down by the numerous characters that people make for funsies that just sit there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I know I have a fairly high roster of characters that I have just made because,
hey, you're paying for that unlimited characters.
I'm making characters and it's not even on the high end. Like my number of characters that I have just waiting in the wings on D&D Beyond pales in comparison to that of Garrett.
Oh, well, of course. He has one like every letter in the alphabet, every species, every class.
And Garrett, it's true. You have so many characters. But yeah, so I know for a fact that there are plenty of people out there that are just making characters as basically placeholders or as ideas or anything like that.
I'm making them for NPCs.
Oh, my daughter just makes them for fun.
Yeah.
Like she legit just makes characters just for fun that she's never going to play.
Yeah.
Like we're talking Google Docs a backstory for a character that's probably never going to see the light of day, but it's just part of her creative process and writing and stuff like that. So she's got tons of them. And when I have made characters before, I've, jumped them up a couple of levels because you want to see like, what this character is actually capable of. Is it going to be a useless character? Is it going to be able to do something? Yeah. So I've got a couple of characters that are dummy characters that are like level 3.
Yeah.
And stuff like
Bringing down that average.
Yeah. I think this 4.77 is definitely affected heavily by the amount of test characters.
I agree entirely. Now, next on our list, we're looking at names. I know you know the answer, but if you didn't know the answer, what do you think the most popular name on D&D Beyond would be for a character?
So I know what it is.
Right.
But that wouldn't be what I would guess.
Same.
Yeah. Like spoiler alert, it's Bob.
Yeah.
So Bob is still the most popular name on there. I wouldn't have guessed it would be Bob.
Me neither.
Just because
I didn't realize that was still the thing.
Yeah, still just a generic name to drop in there.
Granted,
not that, if your name is Bob, that's a bad thing.
I'll say, granted, I would say generic names, not a surprise. If it was John, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
But
Bob. Yeah, Bob's an interesting one. Yeah. I honestly would think that probably it would be more in line with the second category that they have in here, which is most growth.
Yes.
So they have the names that have, gained the most traction in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
First one being Link, which is up by 23%.
From last year.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yep. Serafina, which is up by 18%. And Lyra, which is up by 6%, which I find interesting because Serafina and Lyra, I don't know if it's connected, if those are just two names that just happen to be next to each other on the list, or if it's because they're both from the Golden Compass or his Dark Materials, because you have Lyra Balakwa and Serafina Pekkala. So my nerd flag,
I'll say, woo,
going right there. His Dark Materials, Philip Pullman, really good stuff. But yeah, no, I thought it was interesting that those two names were gaining a little bit more traction because even the Golden Compass on HBO was pre-2023. So that's an older show. The movie, way older than that. And the books, not super popular more recently.
Was there a new season this year?
No, I think it ended in 2022. Like, I think it ended on HBO in like 2022.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't even think it ended in 2023, which makes me wonder why Serafina and Lyra.
What else are these names in right now?
The list. Yeah, I don't know. I could be completely off base here, and Lyra and Serafina are in some other, popular media of some sort, or just that they're not connected at all. But I thought it was interesting.
What I find interesting most about these stats are the gap between them. If these are the three names that had the most growth in the last year, 23% for Link, 18% for Serafina and 6% for Lyra. Those are big gaps, right?
Yeah.
6% to 18% are the two closest.
The two closest. Well, I mean, just everything else was just completely flat across the board.
That's what I'm saying. Or they're like, everything else is up 1%,
Or
2%.
Down.
Or down.
Yeah.
Names like Bruno, which, hey, I understand why it was big.
What, is it Bruno Mars?
Something like that. Something Disney related.
Oh, wait, we don't. Oh, yeah.
We don't talk about him, though.
We don't talk about him. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't get that.
No.
Why would that be down? He's such a cool character.
Well, that was so last year.
Yeah, okay.
So he's down 56%.
I'm sorry, Bruno.
Woo!
That song did you bad. We did you wrong. People took it literally.
Next, down 45%, Eddie. Some big Stranger Things fan here, you know.
Yeah.
New season will be out soon. We'll see what happens.
So what that shows me is that there was a massive spike of people just making Eddies.
Yeah.
And then, it just died down because
He'll live on
Things
in
hype. Yeah.
D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
And then next, I don't know this reference. Rando,
Well,
down 39%. What am I missing?
I just assumed.
Is it Dark Compass?
No, I just
Okay.
assumed that it's random. Like Rando. It's a Rando character.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even make that connection.
I mean, I could be wrong.
The fact that it's down 39% makes me wonder.
It's 39% of the populace realized they were spelling Rambo wrong for their barbarians.
And they fixed it.
And then they fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose autocorrect didn't get that.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Well, that makes sense. Case closed.
Case closed. But yeah, Bob's still the most popular name.
Yep. And Bruno has this fallen from the sky.
Sorry, Bruno.
Yeah. Oh, well. Nothing we can do about it. And, you know, poor Eddie. His popularity's turned upside down.
That's a good name, regardless of Stranger Things.
Yes. Eddie.
It's a good name.
Yeah, Rocky Horror.
And Lyra and Serafina, very good names. So I'm glad those are on
That's
the
a good
rise.
party. Eddie, Lyra, and Serafina. There we go.
I like it.
I would like you to break down about the species because you've got some good points.
Okay, so the next thing that they had on here was species. And they go through a list, which is not complete, right? So this is not every species that you would imagine. And they don't give us actual numbers, so it's a graph, so it's not super exact. But basically, they kind of start at the top, which, to nobody's surprise, we kind of hinted at this earlier. Yeah. Humans are at the top of the list, which is interesting because my daughter asked me, I think it was last week, actually, before this dropped, or maybe the week before. I think I told you about this. She asked me, hey, what's your favorite species in Dungeons and Dragons?
Yep.
And I was like, you got to clarify this, right?
There we go.
Because I have two categories here. My favorite species to play and my favorite species in general.
Right.
Right. And she was like, okay, well, give me both of them. And I came up with humans as my favorite species to play and tieflings as my favorite species.
Right.
Because I was like, those are my two. And then Thrycreen was my third runner up, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were yours? Just so I...
My favorite to play was Dragonborn, of course.
Okay.
And then my favorite in general was Herringon.
Okay, cool. Yep. So yeah, humans we kind of expected to be top of the list because most people are going to be your self-insert. Humans, like you said, easier to play because they're easier to get yourself into that whole thing. Plus variant humans, so cool to build characters with.
You're not going to, if you're going to play human, you're playing variant human.
Variant human is just so good. So we'll go down the list real quick because we get to the end where it gets a little funky. So we've got humans. Next on the list, we have elves, dragonborn, tiefling, half-elf, dwarf, halfling, half-orc, genasi, solid in the middle there.
Interesting.
Gnome, Goliath, Aasimar, Aarakocra. So those are our main species that we have on the list here. And then it goes to lineages, and then custom lineages. So first off, lineages is... as far as I know, and I'm aware, they're the three races from Van Richten's. So that was, what's in there? There's Dampier,
Hexblood.
Hexblood. What's the third one?
Was it undead? Not undead, but like reborn?
Like a reborn, yeah. Okay, so those are the three lineages. And then custom lineages is your custom species, right? So that's you kind of breaking it down and making your own custom thing.
Right.
And basically this graph starts at 700,000 and then goes all the way down to 0. And then custom lineages are in the 60 to 40,000 range. But there's a lot of races missing from here. Most notably, things like what you said. You said one of your favorites would be Herringons.
Yeah.
Not on the
even
list.
There. No.
Not on the list. Thri-kreen, not on the list. And we started looking at this list and we're like, wow, those are some weird like things that aren't included on here. And then I started looking at it and something was bugging me. What's missing on here? Tabaxi is a huge one that's not on the list. I find it hard to believe that there are more Aarakocra and Aasimar players than there are Tabaxi players.
Yeah.
That can't be right?
I don't know. The fact Tabaxi seems like you would see a lot of that.
So there's a lot of species that aren't on here,
People
right?
like cat people.
Which are understandable, like the grung,
Sure.
right? They are grung, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, grung. What are the fish?
There's like the lore calf.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's all the weird Magic the Gathering
that
species
right.
and stuff like that. Right. There's a bunch of species that aren't on this list, but they're like incredibly specific things like the fairies and stuff like that. So
you got
that are probably not going to be on there.
Just not here.
Yeah, just not here. So that you can kind of get by. But then Tabaxi almost seems like that's the one that you would think there'd be a lot of.
Like it almost feels like there's a weird cutoff, right? Because why include lineages?
Yeah.
But not like you're missing a lot of the Fae stuff, but you've got Genasi here.
Yeah,
hey, props to Genasi.
No, that's
higher
cool
than
and
I
everything
thought they
like
would
that.
be.
Yeah. But I just don't understand how lineages, so the 3 from Van Richten's guide, outclassed Tabaxi for the entire year?
It almost feels like to me like they chose to avoid some of the more air quote out there species and included lineage because you can be a human Dampier or an elf or a dragonborn Dampier or reborn gnome and stuff like that. Like it's almost like a sub race of what you are, even though you take the stats from the lineage, right? And not your original stats. It's like an alteration of one of the previously listed ones more than anything else. And they just didn't want to include the more air quotes monstrous species.
Yeah, this is, like I said, the one that, like you said, you wanted me to talk about it because I had opinions.
Yeah.
This one's the one I think could have definitely had a lot more detail in it. Like, I think they should have included, like, all the races so that we can see kind of where they were.
We want to
on
see
the
numbers.
And, yeah, something a little bit more, like, substantial than, like,
Yeah.
in between 60 and 40K. And it just makes me wonder, because if that's true, like, if we take this at face value, and it is true that Tabaxi weren't even
above Dampier.
Yeah, they weren't even worth mentioning on this whole list, which is interesting because it goes all the way down to 0. So it would imply that there would be less than 0. So nobody played a Tabaxi in 2023.
Even lineages is interesting, right? Because that's slightly above custom lineages, which I don't think a lot of people are doing custom. So there we go. That kind of makes sense. But lineages is 3 sub races.
Yeah.
And that's still the lowest right before custom. That to me, that sounds like a lot of these other things, aka Tabaxi and stuff, would be above.
Yeah.
That.
You would think.
Kobolds. Like, people love kobolds.
Yeah.
Goblin, verdant. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Something seems a little bit weird.
More numbers.
Something seems a little bit weird about this one because there's some stuff in there that I think is somehow being left out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just because it was all like, okay, the species list is too big. It would make an ugly graph. We need to pare this down to like the most popular stuff that was played. The most people played this character of these species. So this is what's going to make the cut. But everything else that didn't have this levels of playtime isn't making the cut.
I wish they would say that then in the block of text below.
Yes, because they don't reference it at all. They just pretend like some of those species don't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So yeah, I thought that was kind of weird because, they're not repping my Tabaxi people or Goblin people or anything like that.
My people.
And there's some good stuff missing in there. I mean, like Thri-kreen, they're cool. They're cool. Somebody out there's playing Thri-kreen.
The Griff.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Githyanki.
Yeah, the Githyanki. With Baldur's Gate's popularity right now, they don't have Githyanki on the list.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know. Classes.
Yeah, I know you like this one just because of the lowest one.
Yeah. Vindication.
Vindication.
Almost everything is pretty in line. Now, I say that across the board look pretty in line, but the graph is a little misleading.
Yeah.
We're going to start at the top and work our way down to the best part. Fighter at number 1, followed by Rogue, Barbarian, Wizard, Paladin, Warlock, Cleric, Ranger, Bard, Druid, Sorcerer, Monk, and then, drumroll, Artificer.
Yeah.
The bottom where it should be.
Poor Artificer at the bottom. And it's funny because you said that they're relatively even. So across the board, the numbers stay pretty high. And in fact, they stay over 200,000 all the way down to the final 3.
Yeah.
So Druid at the final 4 is the last one above 200,000.
Yep.
And then you have Sorcerer, Monk, and Artificer.
I'm surprised Sorcerer is that low.
I don't know. I always think that Sorcerers, I'm not. And I'm not because of the fact that I think a lot of people are coming into the game are very intimidated by a Sorcerer.
The only reason I'm surprised, Wild Magic Sorcerer. I think a lot of people that just embraced chaos specifically look to Wild Magic Sorcerer as the fun, whoopee, let's go of every class, subclass in the game.
Yeah, but then how many of those people that are like, I'm hype, I'm playing a Wild Magic Sorcerer, and they sit down at the table and the DM's all like, I mean, it's really not going to be healthy for the group. And then other people in the group are like terrified. They're like, oh yeah, you're just going to kill us.
We've had like 3 Wild Magic Sorcerers in our games.
In the first game. Well,
like,
I'm not saying all DMs. I'm saying some DMs.
Yeah.
And I do think that Sorcerers can be a little bit intimidating.
Base, subclass.
I think that they can be intimidating because there's a lot of stuff going on there. And I've known people that have played
Wizards
Sorcerers
are intimidating.
that have been all like, this is more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
I think Wizards is the most intimidating in the game, and look how high up they are.
Well, I think that on face value, they don't look intimidating. I think a wizard does not seem as such when you look at it.
I'll be a wizard, and I've got magic.
Long term, probably a little bit more so, but I think
so many spells
on paper.
Yeah.
Wizards look a little bit easier than sorcerers.
Sure.
Yeah. And then monks overall, not super satisfying for the last year. They haven't been.
The last 10 years.
We've known that. Yeah. The monks are just something that is for the diehard
getting
monks.
Better.
It's getting better. And artificers, I don't understand why it's so low.
It's just not good.
Needs to be at least mid-range, maybe a little higher.
I mean, if it could go a little bit lower, I'm surprised that, between 60 and 80,000, let's call 70,000, people even wasted time making these characters, probably just because they already had a character sheet made up for all the other, classes, and we're like, I might as well round it off and make an artificer, even though I'll never play it.
I wish I had gotten to play my artificer. He's just sitting in my my figures tray right now.
It's not too late. You can still do it.
No, he died.
Did he die though?
Oh no, technically I guess he didn't die. He's still alive somewhere out there.
Where do you think he is?
Yeah, at a party. Last time we saw him, he's still at the longest dinner party ever. Yeah, he's just out there dancing,
grooving.
Yeah.
So none of this really shocks me.
No, it doesn't really shock me. Fighters, especially being number one, because
course.
fighters are so versatile, and like for a new character, for a new player coming in, fighters seem like a really appealing thing to do.
I am still to this day surprised fighters are the number one, only because I know I get the idea. Oh, a human fighter. Fighters fight. It's easy to understand. But coming into fantasy, I think barbarian, and I think wizard, and I think ranger, because you want that like Aragon fantasy or Legolas and stuff like that. And fighter feels basic. I feel like fighter, if I knew nothing, would be like a boxer. And I'm like, I'm not going into a fantasy game looking to box. I'm looking for this, that, and the other. And I know that's not what they're here for. But just as far as most played. Now I know, as veterans, fighters are very good.
Yeah.
They're very versatile. So maybe that's where most of the numbers are actually coming from. Maybe it's players that do play a lot of games and not just new people.
Yeah, I think if it was just new people, I do think it would probably be a little bit different of a list. I think fighter, rogue, and wizard would still be in that top, but I think it would probably be your tropes. So
I do too.
If it was just new players, it would be fighter, rogue, wizard, and cleric.
Really, not barbarian.
I think. I don't think barbarian would
Conan
be there.
fantasy.
No, I don't think so.
That's gone in the 80s.
Yeah, I think it would be your standard tropes.
I don't think I'd see cleric.
Really? I think a healer would always be there.
I don't think any new players want to be the healer.
That's me. I want to be a healer.
I think clerics are some of the best out there.
I want to be a healer.
Clerics should be number one.
Yeah. But I think that, well, my personal opinion, I think it would be the tropes if it was just new players. But I think you're right. I think it's skewed because a lot of veteran players are choosing fighter, especially when you look at high level fighters, right? Because then you get into all those crazy battle maneuvers and everything like that, and fighters become just a force.
Yeah. You go from a champion fighter to battle master.
Yeah,
and
and
it's a whole different game.
A whole different game, yeah. And it's like you're doing stuff on your turn, and what everybody else is just like jaw on the floor. Like, you did what last turn?
All right, for my next attack.
I'm just gonna sneak attack, and then I'm done. That's it.
But hey, so much damage. You're rolling a lot of D6s.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised Fighter is up there on number 1.
Yeah.
And most of these make a lot of sense. I am surprised that Ranger is below mid-range. So I thought Ranger would be higher. Like, I really legitimately thought that Ranger would have a much higher play because of the whole, like, you know, Legolas fantasy kind of situation.
I think a lot of these players, maybe it's because it's D&D Beyond specifically. Maybe it's more heavily skewed towards veterans than newer players as far as people actually using the app. Because a lot of people know that Rangers haven't always been in the best spot. But, you know, since Tasha's Ranger's been pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think Rangers are in a decent spot, and I'm surprised.
And you know, they're not at the bottom. So, hey,
true.
You know, I'm not going to say they can always be the top. Some more flexing on, you know, D&D Beyond's part. They focused on their mobile app for a bit. They had 13 million searches on the D&D Beyond mobile app, you know, across iPhone and Android. With the top words being searched are Druid and Dragon.
That's weird.
Druid, I understand.
Why? That's the one I don't.
Looking for wild shapes.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're right. 100%. Now I got it. Yep.
They're trying to find out what they can turn into.
Trying to figure out what you can turn into because that's a hot mess. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, because that's the one I looked at it. I was like, why Druid? I understand Dragon, right? But like, yeah, I mean, it's dragons. Everybody wants to.
Why is that the the highest word search though? Dragon.
Because you could see what kind of dragons are in the game. Dragonborn as a race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
I don't know. Druid didn't make any sense to me until you.
Druid makes all the sense to me. Dragon makes no sense to me. I'm like, there's only so many of them.
Yeah.
Next, this one's fun. 7 million spells were cast.
Yeah.
So 7 million times that
7 million times
cast button was pressed.
Yeah. To cast a spell, which is really cool.
In the mobile app, 1.9 million players rolled dice using the app. Sick. And that equated to 141 million rolls.
Yeah, that's a lot of rolls.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that does also include the, roll 3d6.
Yeah.
Is that one roll? Is that 3 rolls?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it depends if they're counting dice or if they're counting the roll button. We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know because they didn't give us that as detail. I do like the digital dice. It is a lot of fun and it is cool. It was really fun to have that in our mobile games that we did.
Yeah.
Obviously, I like rolling real dice because I am a dice goblin.
I've completely over the years, like going into D&D Beyond, I was like, this is so incredibly convenient. I freaking love digital dice. I'm going to buy digital dice. Why would I ever use physical dice? Physical dice is the only way to go. Like, I just use D&D Beyond as a character sheet now, and I roll the physical dice instead.
Yes, but you have to admit that having that built into D&D Beyond for a mobile game is amazing because you can see what your party's rolling.
Bingo.
Yeah, so it's like, it's no more this whole like, oh, I just rolled a nat 20. Did you, Jerry? Did you?
Jerry, that's your 4th nat 20 tonight.
Yeah. And having to like point the camera down or whatever.
I don't even hear you rolling dice.
It's just like, chugga, 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 chugga. That's my dice sound. Oh, look, I got 3 20s, you guys. In a row. But no, it's really nice being able to have those digital dice that everybody ties into. That the DM can hide dice from you too, so they can roll dice and have it be visible to you. Or
you can roll straight to the DM only.
Yeah, you can roll straight to the DM, so
it's
nobody else can see it. It is incredibly well done, and it is kind of satisfying watching the dice roll across your character sheet on the screen.
A physics-based system.
Yep, a physics-based system that looks really cool. Neat. A lot of the dice have special animations and stuff that happens on a nat 20, which is really, really cool. Or a 1, yeah. And they have some really cool digital dice. Like there's some really neat stuff. And I'm a dice goblin all the way, but I do have dice in there. I've bought dice on D&D Beyond to use in the online campaigns. So yeah, it is really cool seeing it be used, and it's a cool tool.
Yeah, fun little collection to keep there too. One more thing about dice right here. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It's just on the same picture.
Yeah, it's not about dice.
6 million new characters were created, and character sheets opened 80 million times. Wow.
Yeah, that goes back to that whole like how many characters do you have on your account situation. But that's a lot of characters, yeah. And character sheets opened 80 million times. I can't tell you, like, there's, I think, 4 characters at the top of my Chrome bookmark bar right now. So
Right.
that I could just click, that just goes to one of my characters. I have it shortcutted just because we played, so often.
Yep.
And I had like all these different characters that I was referencing. I just had them on the hot bar.
Which is the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's smart.
And I would open
it's
my
so easy.
characters when we're not even playing a game, just because I was like, oh, I want to look at my character.
Yeah.
What's in my inventory? I don't remember what my spell DC is.
I have to reference inventories all the time. Like,
Yeah.
where am I at? What do I got? What character am I right now? Okay. Reframe. Oh, man. We're down here at the bottom now.
We're to the last thing.
So this will be more of just general discussion then, I guess, really. Their top 5 articles out of everything they posted throughout the year. 1, Druid 101 Wild Shape Guide. Like I mentioned earlier. Druids.
Druid Wild Shape. Yep. All tracks.
How to create your first Dungeons & Dragons character with D&D Beyond. Of course.
Yep, of course.
There we go.
Yep.
D&D Beyond Virtual Tabletop, a closer look. That's some good meat.
That is very telling there. Yep.
A lot of people, us included, would have read this article.
Yeah. So a lot of people, so the question then becomes like, how much of this is people like legitimately interested in the VTT, and then how many are hate reading it?
Interesting. I'm leaning more towards the, prior.
Yeah, genuinely interested in the VTT.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially, look at the statistics for maps. Like, even though that's an alpha, people are using it.
Yeah, people are definitely using it. And I do think in general, people are probably pretty thirsty for the VTT, especially if it even comes close to delivering.
Yeah, which is interesting because there's so many good options for that out there right now. But having something officially supported that ties into your character sheets and stuff you're already using,
yes,
is huge.
And that's the biggest thing, was it goes back to that whole like 80 million character sheets accessed and 6 million new characters made.
Yep.
That is a staggering amount of characters that you can tap to just put into this VTT.
Right.
So yeah.
D&D Beyond, it's never been easier.
Never been easier.
Now, what is it? Oh,
next one.
What is Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah. Which is, it's interesting. I think that that's probably coming from the whole crowd of people that are into Dungeons and Dragons adjacent media.
Right.
So that's the Netflix Stranger Things watchers. That's the people who saw the movie. That's the people who are playing Baldur's Gate, wanting to know what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Stuff like that. I wonder if that is people actually going to D&D Beyond and looking up articles, or if that's just Google searching.
I was about to say, I don't think it's them
there.
specifically going to that article and seeking it out. I think that's search engine optimization.
Me too.
And front page D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's how that one comes about, because that's the most obvious way. So search engine optimization, somebody was like, what is Dungeons and Dragons? What's that game my kids are playing after school? Seems weird. Oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons.
Will Breyer's always talking about it.
Those boys in the crazy basement are talking about demogorgons and vecnas and
something about mind flayer.
Yeah, about mind flayers and tadpoles. And what is Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, let us show you. And last but not least, embracing your wild side, playing as a lycanthrope in D&D. I read this article less than a week ago.
Yeah, it just seems so out of pocket. It's a weird, because it's just so specific.
It's a more recent article, actually, so cool for them for actually hitting the top 5.
Yeah, no.
But if you're playing Curse of Strahd, it doesn't actually give you a lot of information as a DM. However, there are lots of monsters that can pass that sort of gift and or curse on, and you're like, cool. What do I do? How's this work? And they're like, figure it out, bucko. So it's nice to have an article that kind of takes information from that and the Ravenloft book and other sources and kind of just like organizes it for you as the dungeon master and says, just read this. It's going to help you out a lot.
Yeah. So I didn't actually read this article. So this article, was it more towards the dungeon masters then versus the players as far as like being a lycanthrope?
Ooh, I read it as the point of a dungeon master, but you'd absolutely be able to use it as both. I think my bias is probably showing. I think it leans more heavily towards the DM because it shows different types of lycanthropes you could be, whether you're like boar adjacent or rat or bear or wolf, of course. And as a player reading this, that's something you're probably going to pitch to your DM going in during character creation. I would like to be one of these.
Mm-hmm.
As a DM reading it, these are my options to afflict to my players potentially. If they fight one of these creatures, what is the Constitution saving throw they have to make? And how does that DC adjust? Where do I get that number? And when they do turn, or if someone else turns, what are the stat increases? All of that is there. Absolutely, a player could use this as reference, but you're not going to come to me and be like, hey, Fitch would really like to be a werebore. You might. And then we'll look at it together. But it's, during straight up regular character creation, this information isn't relevant to you unless you bring it up for your prior.
Yeah, true.
So I lean heavier towards DM. However, if you are playing a lycanthrope and this is already established, obviously this is helpful.
Yeah.
A little both.
That's cool. So yeah, that was the end of the 2023 wrap. And they do end it with a looking forward to 2024.
Yep. Big year for them.
Yeah, big year for them. We've got the anniversary this year.
Yep. Happy 50th.
Yep. New books coming out. A lot of new material. We've got a roadmap that's very robust.
Not just books, though. New releases, new versions of the core books.
Yeah. Yeah. The big stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be an exciting year. And we're going to be here to cover all of it, of course.
Yeah.
Your weekly updates, especially, oh my goodness, when the core books release, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and
that's going to
Guide.
be huge. Yeah.
It's going to be dense. Right around the corner will be Gen Con and everything. We're going to have a nice lull here at the beginning where we get to play a little catch up and have some fun. And then it's just going to be like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so much content. So, yeah. But
I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it. And this was a really fun little thing. And I hope they do another one for 2024. Yeah. And I hope they get a little bit more detail, beef it up a little bit.
Yep.
Even give us more. I would have kept going on this. There's some more data that
we're
we
thirsty for
in
information,
there.
especially about our favorite hobbies. So.
And I love this. I like the way they did it. I think they could refine it just a little bit.
Of course.
I know people in the comments didn't like some of the graphs and stuff like that. So I think they can make a couple little tweaks there.
Yeah.
And then include some more information next time.
Right.
Tell me how many people actually played Tabaxi. I want to know.
That's all we need. Give us the Tabaxi numbers. Release them, you cowards.
Hair and guns.
But for now, I've been Tyler.
And I've been Richard.
And we've been True Strike.
Woo! Bye.
Hey, adventurers. Thanks again for joining us today. Please be sure to give us a follow on your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. If there's any questions you'd like to write into the show, you can hit us up on X, Threads, or Instagram. New episodes release every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for listening to True Strike.